This video is sponsored by your willingness to click my videos. Dang, you just a real nice person. I mean, you're real good looking, you got that willingness to click, you're just the whole package. Whew. Well, hey there everybody. Here are some things that I would love to see on the Red Komodo that can be implemented right now through just software upgrades. I'm looking at this through the eyes of someone coming from mirrorless cameras that sees that Red is trying to improve the autofocus capability of this camera and can really see how these simple changes could benefit an autofocus shooter. Why? Well, the Komodo is the first Red camera to have autofocus, and it seems like Red is making it a priority for the camera. They continue to update it years after its release, and the camera was originally conceived as a drone or a crash camera. With the Red Komodo straight out of the box, you can control focus remotely as well as use pretty good autofocus. Now, what I would like to see is a few simple improvements that could be done over a software update. The first is simple, the ability to toggle the autofocus box as a visible item over SDI. So this green, yellow, and red box that shows the autofocus status on the LCD screen when autofocus is active, I want to be able to toggle it on to be able to see it over SDI. This way, in situations that utilize autofocus and a monitor, you can more easily judge what the autofocus is covering and if focus has properly been acquired. Of course, only if you are not recording from your monitor, because who wants to record a green box? Another improvement that I would like to see is kinda camera wide. This camera has 6 buttons on it. I would like to be able to assign custom functions to all of the buttons. Some buttons I would like to be able to overwrite the base function. Like if you want, you should be able to overwrite the function of the hard record button on the side of the camera. With the other buttons, I would like to be able to write combinations of buttons, like the camera lock function already does. And I would like to be able to assign hold functions. So like being able to hold a button for 2 seconds to access a different assigned function. The reason I talk about this alongside autofocus is because I believe being able to assign some button toggles for autofocus functions would greatly benefit the camera. Being able to hold the menu button down for 2 seconds to be able to start single shot autofocus would be fantastic for a run and gun shooter that just wants to be able to quickly acquire focus. I could see all kinds of assignable functions that could be fantastic for different operators. Right now, I use the autofocus switch on some lenses to quickly turn autofocus off, but when I do, turning the autofocus switch back on, it runs the focus of the lens. I guess another improvement could be making that running of the lens upon start toggleable if possible. Of course, it might not be. I don't know. The other way I will quickly stop autofocus in continuous mode if not recording is by tapping the playback button twice. Popping in and out of playback mode stops autofocus. And one more thing for my quick Red Komodo autofocus usability wish list would be, and by the way, this is assuming that face detect autofocus is coming to the camera since it's already arrived in app. Alright, future editing Eric here. I'm too lazy to set up a screen though, so maybe I'll do something with an AI here. Oh, did that work? So I've been thinking about this more as I've been editing the video. Top menu touch improvements. I'm thinking maybe this top menu gets split into 2 pages. So when you tap to show the waveform, I think maybe that shows the audio section as well. And then when you're in the other display that has the project duration and whatnot, maybe the audio section there ends up actually being 2 buttons. So then split the old audio section into 2 touch buttons. One being setting single, continuous, or face autofocus, and the other being setting the size of the autofocus box. And also in this, I would like to see a whole frame autofocus box. And then hopefully it could be that when face detect autofocus is off, it would still run continuous autofocus, but not be so jumpy onto things that aren't faces, and be able to use like a whole frame intelligent autofocus to be able to figure out what the predominant thing is in the scene, where it'll lock onto a face when a face is there. When a face isn't there, it'll pick out something in the frame to autofocus on instead of just being an autofocus box that you set. However, still being able to set small, medium, or large autofocus box as well as whole frame would still be very beneficial. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. These improvements are thought of for ways to make autofocus more usable and more reliable for regular use. Being able to assign buttons would just plain benefit everyone. I love the idea of being able to recall a slow motion preset with autofocus already active by tapping the reassigned hard record button on the body, and then being able to go back to a 24 frame preset with single shot autofocus active by holding down that record button. If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel. I'm a videographer and editor based out of Toronto, and I'm just trying to get better at doing all this. So I'm like leaning on the side of an L desk. That's why it looks like I'm falling over here. Otherwise, this office is great.